Another big story this week, the former mayor of Detroit, Kwame Kilpatrick, is back. He says he is not going to prison again, and he is ready to answer any and all questions from the media. This just a week before hundreds of prospective jurors will report to the federal courthouse for jury selection in Kilpatrick's public corruption trial. Now, Kilpatrick plans on being interviewed by members of the Detroit chapter of the National Association of Black Journalists on August 16th. WWJ reporter Vicki Thomas is president of the group, and Kilpatrick gave her an extensive interview this week.
I'm happier now. I'm stronger in my relationship with my family, with God, and I also, I'm ready for this fight. Before I felt so condemned and guilty because I was. I cheated. I lied about it, and I deserved everything that happened. I thought, even though some people say it was unfair, I was treated this way or that way. The fact is, I had a position. And I let people down in that position by lying about an affair that I was having. But this time I'm not guilty. And I feel very strongly about fighting for myself and fighting for what is right and the truth.
All right, so love him or hate him, he won't be ignored. Do you think it was wise for him to come out and say he's going to do some no-holds-barred interview with the media just weeks before his public corruption trial starts?
Well, he's working the jury, and he's working the jury pool, and he may be right. He may not go to jail. We saw what happened in the Bobby Ferguson trial. We all think, this is a no-brainer. They've got him dead to rights. He's going to jail, but we thought of that about Ferguson. So, he's got to make his case to a jury, and I think he's starting to do that right now.
Are you going to attend the NABJ?
No. Well, I'm actually not a member of the local NABJ, and that's because I'm lousy with professional memberships. I'm not a member of this local SPJ either. But even if I were, I wouldn't go, and that's because I have a pretty simple rule about this stuff. The day after the civil trial over the firing of Gary Brown and Nelthrop, Kwame Kilpatrick called me to come over to his office and talk about the things that had gone on. And he told me all kinds of stuff about what he had not done and what he'd been accused of, and I put those statements in the paper, and of course months later we figured out that those were all lies. And with me, you get one shot at that. You tell me lies, I put those in the newspaper, we're done. There is no relationship. And I think every journalist in this town really needs to ask themselves, how much exposure and how much sort of a free rein are you going to give to a known liar to sort of spread that kind of stuff widely again? I mean, at some point I think we have an obligation to say, this is not somebody who can be trusted, and so why am I putting him on television or on the radio or back in the newspaper?
And giving him a platform?
Well, perhaps, but I mean, he is a newsmaker, and it's hard to ignore. I mean, it's just like the folks who say, we're not going to use the name of the Colorado shooter. I mean, yeah, but he's still a newsmaker. He's going to be on trial. We're going to use his name. Kwame's a newsmaker. We're going to put him in the paper. We're going to hear what he has to say. I'd like to hear him explain how he's living, the life he's living, on the income he reports. He's like that fishes and loaves kid in the Bible. I mean, a few dollars feeds the multitudes here.
The wine at the wedding, it just keeps multiplying, right?
should ask him some tough questions about how he's maintaining this lifestyle on that income.
Well, and he's venue shopping too, right? Mm-hmm. He's not sitting down with the investigative reporters in town who ran him out of office to sort of talk about the things that are going on. He's going to places that he thinks are going to be more friendly. And I would say that the local chapter of the NABJ really ought to sort of stick that back in his face and show that, look, you can't just come here and expect a free ride. We're going to ask you really tough questions, and we're not going to take any of the crap that you're dishing out. But again, I think there's a credibility problem with this.
Well, I mean, you call him a known liar, and obviously it was perjury. But do you think that he actually believes everything? I mean, he believes that he's done nothing wrong in this situation, and he's going to continue to...
I don't think he believes it at all. I mean, he knows that he put money in his pocket if indeed those charges are correct. I mean, if the charges against him have any validity, he knows what he did, and I think he's scrambling now. He thought he could get away with it, he didn't, and I'm just surprised to see him go into trial, because I thought he'd take a plea deal, particularly because his dad's part of the equation, and I thought he might take a plea deal, Steve, to keep his dad from serving what would amount to a life prison.
Yeah, and he has been indicted with his father, Bernard Kilpatrick, Victor Mercado, who was the head of the water department, and also Bobby Ferguson, accused of running a criminal enterprise. So jury selection, they're going to start filling out questionnaires next week and also August 20th. The trial is supposed to begin in September, and of course,
one interesting issue to watch with this trial: the judge has signaled that she's not going to make any of the jurors' names public during this trial, which is really unusual. We don't know exactly what that means. Does that mean that the lawyers in the case won't know? But I think that's going to end up being an issue with us in the press in particular.